Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here, and it is Thursday, the 19th of September. Thanks again for watching weatherweb.net, and thanks to those of you who joined the webinar earlier on today. We'll be doing more of those. That's live webinars via the web. Lots of interest in the winter forecast I put out yesterday. Well, I'll keep you updated, of course, as to how things change with that. Main story, really, for the coming days is this rise in temperatures. Just look at that. After the sort of temperatures that we've had over the last few days, we're now looking at temperatures that's 25, 26 degrees across parts of southern England during the latter part of this weekend and next week. And just about everywhere is going to become warmer too. Notice how much drier it becomes too. Look, we've got a little bit of rain here, but then dry conditions there. And of course, would I ever mention that I talked about this area of high pressure building in? I had big question marks over how long it would last, and I must admit there were some wobbles coming through, but I'm pleased to say it's there at last. And I did think originally it was going to be a 3 or 4 day spell. Looks as if it's going to be a little bit longer now, but the high is there. So it kind of bodes well for future forecasts as well, doesn't it? Anyway, enough of my ego boosting, self-ego boosting, I should say. This is the mean of the 7 to 10 day flow from next Thursday through to Sunday the 29th. We've got the ECMWF on the left here, we've got the GFS model on the right, and got a difference between the two. Now, when there are differences in models, this kind of backs up the idea that a change is likely to be taking place, and there is evidence of changes taking place as well. So the ECMWF's got normal heights across the country, got this sort of southwest flow, a bit of a mini jet in there and a bit of a ridge across Eastern Europe, but this trough moving in during the latter part of this period. By contrast, the GFS makes far more of the ridge here, of the high pressure out towards the east, and actually makes a lot more as well of that trough that's over northern parts of Scandinavia. So we need to watch both of these models at the moment to try and get a feel for how these things are going to be developing. I actually prefer at the moment the ECMWF idea, although the GFS has, in my opinion, performed better than the ECMWF recently. But I'm not sure this is how deep this trough is going to be here, and that's critically dependent on the ridge out towards the west and vice versa. So at the moment I'm going to go with this idea of a more laboured pattern from the ECMWF, putting the high there across western Greenland, probably over northern parts of Newfoundland as well. So just create a bit of a question mark over how conditions look by the time we're getting into 10 days' time. So this is the 29th, so this takes us up to a week on Sunday. And this is the ECMWF, the operational. Puts low pressure out in the North Sea, look. And you see there that trough line in the 500 millibar flow with a ridge out towards the west. Now compare that solution with that from the Canadian, the GEM model, and look, our ridge is kind of there, but that's the one that was further west. Low pressure off towards the east, nothing out off towards the west, nothing out towards the east, and a mild southwesterly flow. So the Canadian certainly not seeing the low pressure breaking in as much as the ECMWF. And the ECMWF ensemble really making far less of that low as well. It builds the ridge in, builds a southwesterly through the country look, and just takes some fronts at western areas, taking some outbreaks of rain there, but for most it stays warm on this southerly flow, and dry too. But then look at the GFS ensemble. It wants to go colder. It agrees with the ECMWF operational with this north and northwesterly flow, more unsettled conditions there, high pressure out in the Atlantic, but another low pressure here off Newfoundland. So it wants to go back into cooler, more unsettled conditions across northern and eastern parts of the country, and certainly does just keep warmer conditions down in the far south and southeast, but generally the flow turning into a cooler northwesterly direction. So there is this discrepancy at the moment as to how this thing breaks down. Very tricky to say. I must admit, though, I do prefer the solution that the ECMWF and the ensemble's coming up with, which is this cooler air feeding in from the north, strengthening the trough. The ensemble making less of this trough deepening, but I think that trough will sharpen off, and probably by the end of next week into next weekend, we see that trough moving through, bringing those more unsettled conditions. CFS seeing it like this. Week 1, there's our high down towards the south, look, building in over the coming days. Week 2, from the 26th of September through to the 2nd of October. Now that does build the high down to the south, look, with the low pressure up towards the north. And what it does is it tries to bring in this more westerly flow, but it keeps that high south and east of the country, which is where the warmer conditions are, but breaks it down towards the north and the west. And I think that's what's going to happen from about the 27th or the 28th onwards. Do I need to go later on that? May need to go to the 28th or 29th. But I think the west is going to be in rain by that time, and the east is likely to be dry. Week 3 sees low pressure up towards the north, high pressure to the south again, and there's that west to southwesterly flow. I think rain affecting in the northern and western areas, but drier down towards the south. So staying in that kind of mixed pattern through the early part of October, but actually it's not that bad. It's fairly dry down towards the south, and then the CFS trying to build the high back in. I have to say, big question mark over this, but what it tries to do is to link the high across the Atlantic, higher than normal heights here, and tries to set us up into a blocked east-southeasterly flow through that week 4 period from the 10th to the 16th of October. Now, actually, the forecast for October that we had out originally was at the beginning of the month probably under high pressure, but fairly warm. Middle of the month, more unsettled. End of the month, under high pressure again, but actually cold and frosty. So, it kind of sees the high building at the wrong time, really. I want to see the high building at the beginning of the month, not in the middle. But we'll see how things transpire over the coming days. And back to the coming days, this is chart for this afternoon. Fronts moving their way eastwards during this afternoon, taking rain with them, but brighter skies following from the west. For Friday, I think ridge of high pressure building in, bringing better conditions. There will be rain, though, spreading into Scotland, through Ireland, into the west of Wales and southwest England, I think late on Friday morning into Friday afternoon, but most other places stay with some sunshine. Saturday sees a rather dull day, I think, particularly across northern and western areas. I think bits and pieces of drizzle probably here. I think fairly cloudy further east and south too, particularly in the morning, but that cloud breaking. I think sunny spells starting to break through during Saturday, starting to feel warmer as well, as warm air wafts in behind that front. Sunday sees the high build to the south, edging its way northward, so plenty of dry conditions around again, I think more low cloud and drizzle, though, could affect those western coasts, but feeling warm, and I think we could be looking at highs of 25 degrees across southern England, around a 21 in northern Scotland. And then on to Monday, well, this warm air wafting its way northwards, so sunny and I think warm for most parts of England, Wales and Scotland, as well as eastern parts of Ireland. A little bit of perhaps low clouds affecting the west of Scotland, bringing a spot of rain, perhaps similar for Western Ireland too, but generally it's warm for all. And then into Tuesday, well, little change, warm conditions in the south, but big change across Scotland as this cold front moves its way southwards, taking cooler conditions with it and some showers down these eastern coasts. I think most other places probably do tend to stay dry, but the writing is on the wall as far as the warmth is concerned, with those winds changing direction. So plenty to be going on over the next few days. Thanks for now for watching, and don't forget the sites get free of charge by the adverts you see around the screen here. By you coming back and using the site and using the adverts is what keeps WeatherWeb free of charge. So thank you for doing that, keep the sun shining, and bye for now.